It's a privilege for me to call upon Rabbi Penny Dunner. It had become a greater privilege in the last half hour when I've had some time to sit and talk to him and find out personally what a very special person he is. Rabbi Dunner follows the path of serving the klal set out for him by his father and grandfather. His grandfather was Dayan Dunner Zatzal. The Belzer Rosh Shlita, when he was in London, went to visit the Dayan. Rabbi Dunner is a creative thinker who initiated groundbreaking projects while he served in Russia in the 90s, and then in London, and now here in LA as a mashgiach and a rav. He's an expert in Jewish history in general, and knows a tremendous about Hasidic history. What better person to call upon to introduce the special video that was prepared for tonight's dinner than Rabbi Penny Dunner.
I must stop chewing. I had no idea he was about to introduce me, and I had begun to eat my dinner. Let me say that all those of you who came here tonight because you wanted to hear speeches definitely got your money's worth. And I feel that as the final speaker this evening, I've been given the graveyard slot. Ich habe gemeint, wenn der Pinchas Lerner ist bei mir herangekommen, vor ein paar Monaten, als ich darf reden bei Abel's Dinner, habe ich gemeint, ich bin der einzige Ruf in Stutt von einer modernen Schiel, das kann reden a Galicianer Jiddisch. Und der Rebbe ist zu mir gekommen, ich soll geben a Drusche. But I hear, if Pinchas Friedman can speak in English, I have to say that probably it would be a better thing for me to speak in English. And unlike all those of you who think you've been hearing English speeches tonight, I actually speak English. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been receiving phone calls from friends of mine on the East Coast, quite puzzled because they saw an advert in Mishpacha magazine, which I have to admit I do not read, in which I was featured because this particular event was advertised in Mishpacha magazine, and they were wondering, what is my connection to bells? And in fact, this evening, I've been asked on several occasions by the people who are here this evening why I would attend an event for bells. And I think it's an important question. Of course, I could answer immediately and say that there's absolutely no reason why I should attend an event for bells and just walk off the podium and that would be it. But I did accept this particular request that I speak and introduce the video, and I'm going to explain to you why in a moment. The first thing I want to say is that I requested that Rabbi Lerner send me the video so that I would know what I was introducing. It would be quite pointless for me to introduce something that I had never seen. And he promised he would send it to me in good time. Earlier this afternoon, I called him. And I said to him, Rabbi Lerner, I love you very much, but I have not yet seen the video I am going to introduce. Could you possibly send me the link so that at least I should know what it is that I'm going to be introducing to this crowd this evening? And let me say this. First of all, he very kindly sent it to me immediately, and I have watched it. But I am quite disappointed, not in the video, but in the fact that there are not more people here tonight to see it. And in answer to the question of my friends from New York and Lakewood as to what it is that Penny Dunner has to do with bells, I could say, having seen the video, Isn't it nice to associate yourself with success? And I would say that anyone who knows anything about what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, anyone who knows about Harbotzas HaTorah, who knows what it is that can be achieved in terms of communal life for the Haredi community in Eretz Yisrael, knows that Belz is at the absolute forefront. Belz is the epitome of a community that caters for all, cradle to grave, as we say in England. And yet that's not enough of a reason for me to get up on a podium and speak for a particular charity and for a particular cause. And for that reason, I want to explain to you why I'm here this evening and why I have agreed to introduce the video about Belz and the incredible success of Belz in Eretz Yisrael and the wonderful work that they are doing. Rav Shlomo, who I just met, was very kind to introduce me as somebody who has some knowledge of history. At least that, having spoken or having heard speakers this evening who are far greater Talmidei Chachamim than me, at least I have some unique selling point, in as much as that I can speak with some knowledge about Jewish history. And I'm going to take you back to 1943, to Bochnia Ghetto. And Reb Aaron Belzer, Reb Arla, Zechusi Yogan Aleinu, a Malach Hashem, is caught in Bochnia Ghetto, as close as it is possible to be to the death jaws of the Gestapo and the SS. And not only that, he is a man who has been identified in Nazi publications as a Wunderrabbiner. He is a target of the Nazis. He is somebody who, if the Nazis would have killed him, Rachmana litzlan, that would have been their greatest joy and their greatest victory. And every effort is being made to assist him in his escape from Poland, so that he can make it out of the cauldron of war and he can survive what has subsequently become known as the Shoah or the Holocaust. At that stage, no one knew what it was, they just knew that Jews were being killed by Nazis. But what is very curious is that he is chosen as the person with whom he wants to spend his time and devote his attention. His younger brother, 22 years younger than him, Reb Mordcha Bilgeraya, Reb Mordcha Rokach, the Rav of Bilgerai. And what's so curious about it is that not only was he 22 years younger than him, they weren't even children of the same mother. And Reb Arla Belzer, Zecher Tzadik B'Kodesh Librocha, had a wonderful family, had a wife and children. His oldest son, Reb Moshe, was elsewhere. But he had specifically asked for his brother to accompany him and to assist him in his activities during this terrible period. And I don't know how much you know about the rescue of the Belzer Rebbe during the Second World War. There was a man called Landau who had a connection, he later lived in Tel Aviv. He had a connection with the Gestapo. Somehow they treated him differently. And he arranged, through the medium of huge bribery, from Chassidim in Budapest in Hungary, that a car should come and collect the Rebbe together with his brother and the youngest son of the sons of Reb Shaila Shchoiver, There were 3 seats on the back seat of the car. Would drive them via Romania to Hungary, and in that way would save them from certain death. And the car arrives with the driver and with the officer of the German army who's been very heavily bribed. And Landau goes to the Belzer Rebbe, to his brother, to Reb Shai Leshchoiv. He says, the car is here, it's ready to take you to Hungary. And Reb Shai Leshchoiv says, I cannot travel without my son. I must travel with my son, otherwise I can't go. Reb Shai Leshchoiv, he's a son of the sons of Rov. So they went to the Belzer Rebbe, and they said to the Belzer Rebbe, listen, we hope we can help your brother. But to be perfectly frank, Reb Shai Leshchoiv is the son of the sons of Rov. We need to bring him to Budapest to ensure that he can survive, because if we leave him here in Bochnia Ghetto, he's going to die. And the Belzer Rebbe said, he looked at the person who was asking him whether it was Landau or one of his messengers. He said, listen, I go nowhere without my brother. A brother with whom he'd had very little connection before the Second World War. The Mordechai Rokach was the Rov in Bulgaria. He came once a year to visit his brother, for Yomim Noraim. But the Belzer Rebbe says, I'm going nowhere without my brother. They went to Reb Shai Leshchoiv, and they said, listen, your Chassidim bought 1 seat in the car, the Belzer Chassidim bought 2 seats in the car. Unless you can go without your son, we can't provide you with the seat, because the Belzer Rebbe is not being mevate, he's not allowing this car to travel without his brother Reb Mordechai. Reb Shai Leshchoiv stayed in Bochnia, and Rachmana litzlan was killed, and his son. And one of the mashpaks, the shamosim of the Belzer Rebbe, travelled in that 3rd seat. There were scenes when they arrived in Budapest. Subsequently, the Belzer Rebbe decided he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, and as you know, it wasn't easy to get a visa to get to Eretz Yisrael at that time. Everybody wanted to escape, whether they were in Hungary or anywhere else in Europe which was in danger of Nazi invasion and the killing of Jews. And they had certain visas which were available for Tzionim Vatikim. And the local chapter of Mizrahi gave up 2 of the visas so that the Belzer Rebbe could travel together with his brother of Mordechai. They both shaved off their beards. I have a picture at home of a photograph that was taken. The Belzer Rebbe, together with a bunch of the board members of the Kehillah in Beirut in 1944, when they arrived, the Belzer Rebbe's without a beard. And they eventually made it to Eretz Yisrael, where they were greeted by Rav Herzog, the chief rabbi of Palestine, who had been instrumental in saving them. And the whole purpose of creating this situation, the Belzer Rebbe wanted to reform Belz and create it once again after it had been destroyed by the Holocaust. And in order to do so, he had to have an heir. And he got married. And very quickly, Rachmana litzlan, Nebuch got divorced. He got married again. Didn't have any children. His brother, Reb Mordechai, got married. Reb Mordechai had a child. It's today's Rebbe, Shlita. And very soon afterwards, he was nifter. In 1957, Reb Arla Belzer was nifter, and Belz still had not been recreated. A few months earlier, he had attended, was almost completely blind, could barely walk. He attended the Even HaPinah, the installation of the first cement, the bricks that were going to build the Belz Institution in Romema and Yerushalayim. And everyone thought this was a crazy dream. How dare money be wasted on re-establishing a Chassidus which doesn't exist and will never exist. And he was nifta that year, 1957. There was a young boy at the Levaya, his nephew, a Yosem, not only an orphan from his own father, but an orphan from the uncle who had cared so dearly for him. And he continued to grow, and in 1966 they appointed him to be the Rebbe of Belz. There were no Hasidim, a few hundred maybe, a few dozen families in London, a few dozen families in Antwerp, a few dozen families in Tel Aviv, in Yerushalayim. And obviously, everywhere in the world there were people that stamped from Belz, but there were no Belzer Chassidim. And this man, the result of a decision that makes no sense of Reb Arla Belzer to choose his brother over his own son, of a decision by the Belzer Rebbe to allow Reb Shaila Shchoiver to stay behind in Bochnia ghetto so that his brother could emerge from Poland, come to Budapest, come to Yerushalayim, get married and have a child. That man now presides over what you're going to see in this video. My friends, the reason I am here tonight is not because I associate particularly with Belz, but where I see Yad Hashem, where I see Siyata Dishmaya, I want to be in that room. The fact that Belz exists today, when entire communities, entire Hasidison yeshivas were destroyed and became desolate, and yet out of the ashes, the Ribbono Shel Olam chose through a particular shliach to create a community where there is harbotzas haTorah, where there is a genuine reflection of what life looked like in Europe before the Holocaust. That, my friends, is something worth associating with. It is a great privilege to stand here. And I'm only sorry that there are not hundreds more people from Los Angeles who are here this evening to associate themselves with open nisim, with miracles that we can identify with our own eyes, and that we can see and that we can understand. And that is the miracle of Belz. My friends, when you're watching this video, you're not just watching the video of another Mossad. You're not watching the video of another group of people who happen to be Shomer Torah mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael. You're watching a Nes Golui. Thank you.